Welcome everybody to Inside the Cardinal Playbook, the weekly show highlighting Jewel Athletics. With us is Larry Holley. And Coach, you go and play one game over the last week at Southwest Baptist. Tough game, we'll talk about it in a second, but just the overall idea of playing one game in a week this time of the year, how do you feel about that?
Well, we're limited because of finals. You know, we weren't allowed to play all last week, and so we played a Saturday game on the 7th and then had to wait until finals were over. Some years in the past we played in a tournament actually here at home on Friday and Saturday at the end of finals and let the guys go home. Because of the long layoff, we decided to play an additional game after Saturday, but it has to do with finals.
Right. What do you ask of your guys during finals? I mean, do you work them out? You practice a lot, obviously the game schedule, but what do you ask from them during finals?
First of all, ask them to make sure they study
Yeah.
and make A's and get proper rest. I mean, you know, some guys put things off and there's papers due and there's finals to prepare for, and but we try to make the practices a little bit lighter, not quite as long. And some of them sometimes will miss a practice during finals or be late or leave early because of academic requirements, either with a group project or you know, because their final ran long, that sort of thing. But we're just trying to, you know, give them a little bit of time away from the studies and get up and down a little bit and still try to focus a little bit on our plans for that weekend, you know, we're playing at the end of that finals week.
Are you, I know you're always in kind of a teaching mode, but are you implementing new things? Are you putting things in during this week or this part of the season in general?
Didn't put a lot of new stuff in. I mean, those guys, they're pretty frazzled during that time.
Yeah.
We want to kind of, you know, tune up whatever it is we're trying to do. You know, it's trying to find a time to do that with a limited practice time. A lot of teams will do that prior to the second semester. We haven't done that. Most of what we're going to do is in. We're just trying to fine-tune it a little bit.
Let's talk about the game against Southwest Baptist University. It was a very good game. The Cardinals led by a point at halftime, but dropped the game by 4 at Southwest Baptist University. Pretty good test going into the GLVC here in a couple of weeks. They look kind of like a GLVC team.
They're a good team. They're very athletic. They shoot the three very well. Good at the free throw line, so you don't want to put them there. And they have some length, shot blockers, that sort of thing. But I was very pleased with our guys. We, you know, we go through stretches at times when we struggle to score, puts a lot more pressure on our defense. We didn't shoot it very well from three. We have the two guys that really shoot it well from three. Both were off a little bit, but we played well, and so that put us in a position to be successful at the end, and we had a shot up, down 2 late. Thought he got fouled, but no foul was called. Dwight Sistrunk got in the lane and didn't get the call. We fouled, ended up losing by 4. So when you put yourself in a position to do that when you're not shooting particularly well from 3, very, very pleased. Obviously disappointed in the outcome. We want to win every game, but was pleased with the effort, the performance, and again, we were in a position to be successful.
You kind of turned Dwight loose a little bit in these games. We've seen him have a little bit more freelancing, and I would assume that's by design based on the kind of team you have.
He's actually getting better and making decisions in the lane, and we're trying to get him to go north and south a little more than east and west, and he did that much better in this game, and he's going to find you. You know, it's a process for us. You think about it, we only have 5 returning players, and so we have a lot of new faces that we're trying to get used to and what they, you know, what their moves are, and they're trying to get used to Dwight as well. And but he had a very fine game. But obviously, the other 4 guys, you know, work in conjunction with him, and he'll get them the basketball in a good position to be successful.
You know, I think I'm guilty of, and I think other people are too, of forgetting he is just a sophomore and played half the year last year. So he has he has a lot of growing to do, I think.
Well, he does, but he's gifted. He's
Yes,
talented,
he is.
and you don't want to hold him down. You want to give him some freedom, and it's a process. I mean, he's learning what we want as coaches, and he's learning his teammates, and he's making good progress in that area.
overall against SBU, one thing I noticed, and I don't know what the situation was, but it seemed like a lot of dropped balls through hands for both us and for them. Was there something going on with the basketball?
I don't know about that, but we did have 15 turnovers, and that complicated it a little bit. So the turnovers hurt us, not shooting well from three hurt us, but you know, I think both teams were similar in the number of turnovers, but it affects us a little bit more. I tell you what I was surprised at and very happy about was the number of offensive rebounds we got.
Yep.
You know, we're our leading rebounder is Devontae Mosby. He had another double-double in that game, 11 points, 13 rebounds. But when he's off the floor in foul trouble, that affects us a little bit. And we have to do a better job of all five guys, you know, blocking out, getting that defensive rebound, because we are a small team. I was joking with Coach Cress. I saw the starting lineup for the women's team at Southwest Baptist, and they had three starters taller than three of our starters on our men's team.
Yeah.
They went 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" on their front line with their women, and our guards are 5'10", 6 foot. So I guess we're fortunate we were playing the Southwest Baptist men rather than the women. But
Right.
We're small. Doesn't mean we can't rebound. Just means everybody has to do their job every trip down the floor.
This is kind of a new style for you, though, pushing the ball up the floor more than any other time I've seen in my years here. What's that like to coach at this point?
Well, I mean, that's what I enjoy, coaching and pushing the basketball, trying to get shots. But we haven't necessarily been able to run every year, but we've been blessed with outstanding low post players. And so if we didn't have the break, it wasn't that we didn't want to run, but if the run wasn't there, we wanted to, you know, get the ball inside, get people in foul trouble, that sort of thing. And we just don't have a post player this year, and so it does free up some things for us. We're pretty athletic. Our guys can run the floor, and I don't mind an early shot on the break as long as we got guys in position to get the offensive board. So it is. I'm sure it's a little more fun to watch us this year. We'll see what we're going to do defensively. We're thinking about, you know, extending our defense a little bit, maybe pressing a little bit, but. I like the efforts, and we've played well the last few games. We just need to. It's just much better when we also shoot well and take care of the basketball.
Well, talk about this because you've brought it up a couple of times so far this season. The idea that you can shoot well or you can play well. If you do both, you're likely to win. Can you talk about that?
Well, you know, there's nights, Rick, where you'll go out and shoot lights out, and then you look at the video and you just played horribly. You did not play well. It's just that all the shots were falling. So a lot of times it looks like you're playing well when in fact you're not, but the shots are falling. There'll be other nights when you are playing extremely well and the shots won't fall, so it doesn't look like you're playing well. If you have both those things going for you, you've got a great chance to be successful. Now, if you're shooting poorly and playing poorly, that's going to be very obvious.
Yeah.
And you know, we don't have the capacity to go dominate the boards and just roll the ball out and go play. We've got to get some organization in our break, still give freedom to our guys. In a fast break type offense, you're going to have more turnovers. So I understand that, but at the same time, we still want good shot selection. We want people moving without the basketball, and I think we're getting there. We're making progress.
That's Larry Holley inside the Cardinal Playbook, and he will rejoin us here in a few moments, talk a little bit about some more personal things when we return inside the Cardinal Playbook. Nice little fadeaway for the senior.
My name is Jesse Limekeeler, CEO of Belvoir Winery, 110 years in the making. We provide a unique experience in that it's a historic building. It's 110 years old. And we allow people to bring in their own caterers to have a nice formal sit-down meal or something that's social and very casual. We let them do basically whatever they want as far as their event goes. We have the fountain running and have the gazebo up for all the wedding days and special days out here. I'm Jesse Limekeeler, the CEO of Belvoir Winery.
Back inside the Cardinal Playbook with head women's coach Jill Cress. Welcome. Were you disappointed with a 4-point loss at SBU on Saturday night?
Yeah. You're always disappointed with a loss, but I think there were a lot of positives to take out of that. I'll be honest with you. Going into that game, I knew it was going to be tough for us to hang with them. I mean, they're very good and big, much bigger than we are. I was really proud of our team with their effort. It's disappointing to think because usually we shoot better than what we did,
right.
And we could have gone in there and got a win had we just shot normally.
Yeah, Larry Holley was just here talking about some nights you shoot well, some nights you play well. If you do both, you're in pretty good shape to win. That's kind of your story too, but maybe even more so because when you shoot well, you get a chance to press a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a big thing for us. If we're not making baskets, we're not. And we live so much by our press and our defense. And as a whole, I thought our press caused them some problems. There are times when they got it down in that half court, whether you get a steal or not, but they get down the half court when there's about 15, 16 seconds left, and then they get set up. So you're really looking at playing half court defense or playing defense for about 15 seconds. And so even though they're a lot bigger than we are, they have less time to take advantage of that and get things set up. So I thought as a whole defensively we did really well, but we do need to score for us to be able to get the full effect out of playing.
And I know we've talked about this 100 times, but you don't have to generate steals really to make your press effective. Do you see it wearing down teams in the second half?
Yeah, I think early this year that's been a big thing for us. We'll get down that first half, but I think a lot of teams get tired in the second half just because I don't know if as much physically as much mentally also. You're always facing that pressure, and I know when I played as a point guard, that's a lot, and to do that for 40 minutes, it just kind of gets wearing on you. And I think our players do a nice job of not backing off. I think early this year we didn't buy into it as much. I think our players are starting to get it, and it's not we get some steals off of it, but a lot of times you speed up a team and they have the wrong people shooting. They're not taking the shots that they really want. Or that by the time they get down there, they're pretty frazzled to get set up in an offense. So there's a lot of things I think that we get out of it from a press where other people look at it, and it's not necessarily we're getting steals off of it, but it's still effective for us.
You've played the style for a long time. I imagine you recruit people that can press or have maybe the physical ability to do that.
Yeah, actually, I'm not going to. There's a lot of bigger players that are great, post players or great half court players, but they're not going to be happy in our system, and they're going to have a hard time playing. And so, when we go out recruiting, Coach Broughton kind of gives me a hard time because he's like, sometimes I feel like I need to go to a track meet to recruit for us. And but you want to have kids that fit into your system and fit into the full court and playing.
We got a couple of those young ladies, and we talked to Haley Jo Smith and Maddie Nelson in our last couple of halftime interviews, and there are a couple of examples of girls who really like to get up and down. Yeah,
actually, both those players, fit in really well, and that was one of the things that attracted me to them is they're both long and really good athletes, and they're both extremely competitive, and you look at how we play, both offensively and defensively, and they fit in so well with that. They run the floor well, and they handle the ball well, and they both can shoot, and they both attack the basket well too. So it's, they've come in and done some nice things for us.
Chelsea Meeks, Ariel Smith kind of fit that same description. Jess Wheeler coming off the bench.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of people like that, but again, that's kind of what you look for when you recruit.
Yeah, and even Zika Durich is, that was one of the real draws to her. She just started playing basketball later on in life, and but athletically, she's probably one of our best athletes too. And I think she's starting to kind of feel a little more comfortable and know what we want in that too.
Back to the SBU game, you dropped that one by 4, but kind of had a shot down the stretch if a couple of things had gone your way on a night you weren't shooting well, it could have been a different story.
Yeah, and you go back coaching-wise, especially those close games, you can kind of reevaluate that. And I always make my players kind of look at what we could have done better individually, and I think as a coach and coaching staff, we need to do that also. And I went kind of back through the game. I'm not sure there'd be a lot of things I would do differently. Maybe have them a little more prepared for the end of the game, where because both Coach Broughton and I were kind of going back and forth. If we wanted to foul with 28 seconds, or try to go for the steal first, and I think the players would have been more comfortable had we gone over those situations a little more, and that falls on me. Usually by this time we've gone through situations during practice time and kind of set it up where they're kind of thinking on their own, and so that's something that we'll work on before we start playing conference here in the second half.
Well, you're somewhat limited with the NCAA rules and regulations regarding the amount of time you can practice. Does that figure in when you get into those situations here early in the year? You wish you would have had more time to do some things?
Well, actually, I would have had more time. I'm really big on not making practices go real long. So when you look at the hours, we're way under our hours every week. We only go about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes at the most, practice-wise, and we could have a longer practice, 2.5 hours, where I could get all of that stuff in. I just think they kind of lose interest after a certain amount of time, and it's hard to keep me focused also. It's probably just a little more better time management. It's kind of a life skill, but it's something that I look back and I should have probably done that. But we can get that fixed and go, and whether or not we would have done that had we won the game, I don't know, but. You can just kind of see things that you need to get better at, and you can get that from wins and losses. But I think you learn as a player and a coach from a loss, and make yourself better and make a run. Conference is what really matters, and all those games matter. But you want to get yourself in the position in conference to go, and I think we can do that.
Talk to me about coaching a little bit here. Point, you were talking about how sometimes you wear teams down mentally, physically toward the end of the game, and yet you're not practicing a lot. How do you out physical, out condition people when you're practicing for that short amount of time?
Our practices are, again, about an hour and 15, hour and 45 at the most, but we go really hard during that time. My players were laughing the other day because we were going, and I forgot to give them a water break. And so they're like, Coach, and I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, just ask me, because I get really focused on that. But we go pretty hard, and we'll take like a minute drink break, so every 10, 15 minutes. Right. But when we do our drills, there's not a lot of standing around, and we do a lot of our stuff full court, because that's how we play. Yeah. And Coach Broughton works a lot with the press, and so now we've done in the past here lately that we do 4-minute segments, so they know for 4 minutes we're going to go really hard. Right. And we kind of tied that into the NCAA with their every 5 minutes you get a timeout, and so if we can go 4 to 5 minutes really hard, it makes it more like a game, and they get conditioned that way. And again, our numbers also, because we have 12 players, there's not a lot of standing out or getting a break there, and so I think just through our practices we get conditioned pretty well, and we're used to playing that tempo. And even teams that have a chance to prepare for that, we've done it all the time, and so it's hard to, prepare for something in a short amount of time and then have to go do it in a game. And I think you can start out doing it, but I think eventually it wears you out more than what you think.
The loss to SBU breaks a string of 4 straight wins, and now you face, 3 weeks off before you play again? And what's the schedule for this break? Yeah,
actually, the kids are all home right now. The players are, and I send them home a little workout. Plus, they give me a hard time because a lot of it's the same every year, but I send something home for every day that they do something special. So, whether it's playing a game with their family, cleaning the bathrooms.
Really?
Every day I do something that I ask them to do for their family or for their friends or for somebody they don't even know, right, along with working out. And I think, I really think a break can be good. I'm not really excited about 15 days off, but we talked before they left, and I know they're really focused, and they really want to do well. I think we got picked 6th in the conference, and we're not planning on not finishing there. But we talked about if they take all 15 days off, we could finish there or below. And I know they're going to work out during the break and come back ready to go. And sometimes that gets you refocused, and it's a nice time to have a break. And 15 days is 15 days.
Are you going to take a break?
I am going to take a little bit of a break, about five or 6 days. I'm going to go out recruiting. Right now is a great time to go recruiting and see a lot of high school kids play, but we're going to go up to Iowa and enjoy a little bit of family time.
Well, Merry Christmas to you.
So thanks, Rick, you too.
Jill Cress has been our guest, and when we come back inside the Cardinal Playbook, Larry Holley rejoins us.
Hi, I'm Rachel Callaghy, Head Connections Specialist with Welcome Opportunities, the Northland's only target marketing firm that specializes in turning the thousands of new residents who move to our area each year into your customers. We are the advertising option that's never turned off, torn up, or tossed out. At least not yet, anyway. So if you're looking for the most cost-effective way to reach prospective customers before your competitors, give me a call today at 816-883-8633 or visit my website at welcomeopportunities.com.
And as of right now, it's becoming a big win.
Hazel look at that pass inside.
That's the
There's
first.
Walton. And Nicolay storms down the lane.
Oh, well done.
We're back inside the Cardinal Playbook with head coach Larry Holley rejoining us now. Coach, we don't get a chance in all of the day-to-day things about the team to talk very much about how you grew up, where you grew up, and your background. I mean, everybody can read your bio and see all the halls of fame and all that kind of stuff. But I want to talk a little bit about your chance to go back to Jameson this summer. Wasn't it this summer with the reunion? And tell us a little bit about growing up in Jameson.
Well, you know, I was blessed to have two super parents. You know, we don't have any control over who we're born to, but I was a pretty lucky guy. I tell this story a lot. My dad was 12th out of 14 children. My mom was 15th out of 16.
Is that true?
And
wow.
And they got together, and I'm an only child. And I asked them to explain that to me some, but they never would explain it. But I do have 75 first cousins, and so every Sunday was go to church, go to a family dinner, because Mom and Dad got 7 miles from where they grew up, and so a lot of the family was in that area. Coffee, Missouri is where they were from, which is just north of my hometown of Jameson. But grew up in that little village, about 175 people, and my dad coached and was superintendent. My mom taught and was principal, and if I got in trouble at school, I was really in trouble at home. But my dad was my coach through my 8th grade year, loved playing for him, but he didn't want anyone saying that I was playing because I was the coach's son. So we hired an outstanding young man, Tom McDaniel, who was my high school coach for 4 years, and I was blessed to have good teammates and good teams. My junior year, we were 26-2, lost in the finals of the regional tournament to North Harrison of Eagleville. North Harrison got second in the state that year. They had a player named Jerry Armstrong who played at Texas Western on the. Some of you have seen the movie at Glory Road. That's if you watch that movie, Jerry Armstrong, Eagleville, Missouri, and that's who we lost to my junior year to go to state. My senior year, we were 33-1. Again, great teammates, great coach, and we got third at state. Our first loss was in the Final Four. So was used to winning, and then you know, but Jameson became a very special place. You and I talked about the bucket list. One of mine is to visit every gymnasium I played in.
Talk about that a little bit.
And there are 20 of them, which doesn't seem like very many. One is Northeast Missouri State, which is now Truman State. We played there in the state tournament. And one is Brewer Fieldhouse, University of Missouri, where we played in the state tournament Final Four my senior year. But the other 18 are all in small communities in north central Missouri. And I had it all mapped out to, I think I can get it done in 3 days, and to go to 6 different schools each of those 3 days. And I did one of those ventures this fall. I'm going to do the other 2 next spring or summer. But it was kind of fun. Took a camera, you know, both still pictures and video, and took a picture of the population sign at each place. The 6 schools I visited last fall. I started at Breckenridge, Missouri, and then went to Kidder, Missouri, went to Gallatin, Missouri, went to Winston, Missouri, Pattonsburg, Missouri, and Maysville, Missouri. And what I discovered is that in those 6 gymnasiums that I played in as a high school player, only 2 of them are still being used as high school gymnasiums. Breckenridge and Winston. And those gyms are still in great shape. But so I had to kind of hunt down where the other 6 were. One is kind of burned to the ground at Pattonsburg, and but I visited all those sites and saw every place I went. I saw people I knew, which was kind of unique. And
well, let me interrupt you. Do you ever go any place where you don't meet somebody you know?
Yes, I do. Fortunately, I do, because I think the only reason people come up and talk to me is because I probably owe them money. You know, but. No, it was a fun trip. My wife Linda went with me, and next year Coach Cress wants to go, and I want to get my high school coach involved on a couple of those days. But there's 12 more little villages up there in north central Missouri
right.
I plan to visit.
Fast forward to right now. What do you take from those days that you use in your coaching or even your personal life right now?
Well, I think I take a lot from my dad. He was pretty tough on me. I've always said my dad was my biggest critic and my mom was my biggest fan. It was a pretty good balance.
Right.
He always believed that if your pastures were greener, other people would see them. You didn't brag or draw attention to yourself. And I've tried to do that. Tried to do that with our players as well. Not that you don't have joyous times and have moments to cheer and feel really good about what you've done. But I've always been kind of raised that way, and that was a good beginning for me. My high school coach was the same way, Tom McDaniel, and I will say real quick about him. In his 11 years at Jameson, he won over 260 games. Never had more than 25 boys in the upper 4 grades. So it was a great run for him, and I was glad to be a part of that. And then, but those were good days. You know, my dad was. My mom were well thought of in that community. My dad had lots of chances to move to bigger schools, but wanted to stay where he was appreciated. And I think that that has something to do with me coming home to William Jewell and staying here. There's just something about if you have a good experience growing up, and certainly in my case at William Jewell as a student athlete, it's been a real joy for me to come back here and coach.
There are so many things I want to ask you, but our time is a little bit limited. But when you look back on those days as a high school player, it seems like maybe you would think about high school coaching. I know you started out in the high school ranks. Why did you make the jump to college?
Well, I mean, my dream, a lot of people know one of my running mates here at Jewell was Homer Drew, and he was a year older than I, and we'd talk on road trips about what we wanted to do. We knew we both wanted to coach. And my dream was maybe if I could get a high school job, be successful, and maybe after 8 or 10 years, maybe have a chance at the college level. My break came because of one of my good friends, Frank McKenzie. Frank was my age, played at Central Methodist when I played here. We both took a GA position in the physical education department at the University of Missouri, and we didn't know until the day we arrived that we were there at the same time with the same advisor.
Right.
We took all 32 of our master's hours side by side. And while I knew him as a competitor, I didn't know him off the floor very much. We became great friends. He went back to Central Methodist as assistant football coach, assistant basketball coach, and head track coach, knowing that he was going to become the head basketball coach the following year. I took a job at Harrisburg, Missouri, which was just a short trip to Fayette, both communities just north of the University of Missouri, Columbia. Well, Vietnam was going on, and Frank was all set to be the head coach at Central Methodist, got drafted into the war, recommended me for the job. I had coached for 1 year at Harrisburg, and I interviewed, was offered the position. I knew it was going to be tough because what scholarships Central Methodist had, they took them all away. So it was really like a Division III job my first 2 years there, in a league with the likes of Drury and William Jewell and others who were really strong. But I thought the advantages outweighed the disadvantages. So my break came because my best friend at the time was drafted in the Vietnam War, recommended me for the job, interviewed and got it, and I was there for 6 years. When he came out of the service, he was actually our assistant, my assistant for a year. And then he went on to become superintendent of schools, got his doctorate with the GI Bill and everything. But so that's how I got my opportunity. It wasn't anything that I did. I mean, I think I did a nice job at Harrisburg.
Right.
That was an experience. My first year, coached 91 games with no assistant coach, and I had varsity JV junior high boys, varsity JV junior high girls. And I tell people we practiced before school, during school, after school, Saturday mornings and Sunday afternoons.
Must had to.
But I grew up watching my dad do that. Grew up watching my high school coach do that. So it wasn't anything I wasn't prepared for.
Larry Holley, and we have, a lot more stuff we can talk about that, and that just scratches the surface. Thank you for taking the time for that. We'll be back with a final word in just a moment.
Tanner's is new to Liberty, just south of the Highway 152 and I-35 intersection. They're open Sunday through Tuesday from 11 a.m. until midnight, and Wednesday through Saturday from 11 until 1:30 a.m. Come in any day for food specials in the spacious dining area. Happy hour specials are served from 2 spots in the building, and the service is fast and friendly. Tanner's of Liberty, just south of the Highway 152 and I-35 intersection.
And that's Inside the Cardinal Playbook for this week. We'll take a break and be back after the new year with coaches Holley and Cress, thanking them for their time today. I'm Rick Cole. We'll see you next time on Inside the Cardinal Playbook.